I'm joined by Eleanor, former president of the American Immigration Lawyers Association. NBC's Antonia Hilton has been following this story. What do we know about what happened here?
Well, we know that she was walking on Tuesday evening, as you mentioned, on her way to break Ramadan fast, and that she's then approached by these several plainclothes officers, federal agents. They whisk her across the street after what you see here and put her into a van. In addition to seeing her fear on the video, you actually also hear an onlooker at points saying, you know, are these even police? Why do you have masks on? It was clearly disturbing for all the people who witnessed this. And in the hours and days since this has transpired, thousands of people have protested and spoken up in the Massachusetts area, very concerned about this. So DHS says that she engaged in activities in support of Hamas, but they've not provided evidence for that yet. What we have found is that she was a co-author of an op-ed through her school in which she criticized Israel and criticized Tufts as well, saying that they should do more to sever ties with Israel. But we have not seen that she expressed support for Hamas or terrorism or violence and that kind of thing. And so immigration experts that I've spoken to, First Amendment attorneys, are incredibly alarmed by this. And they say that co-authoring an op-ed is not sufficient evidence to say that someone has been engaging or supporting terrorism. And so we're looking at a serious legal fight here, not unlike what we're seeing happen to Mahmoud Khalil and other students who have been detained in recent days. Chris.
Ellen, I mean, obviously, as Antonia points out, she appears alarmed when the man approaches her on the street. She asks what's going on, asks if she can call police. What are the rules? Are there rules about a situation like this and those folks identifying themselves, who exactly they are, showing some kind of identification?
There are rules, and I think there are rules of engagement. I'm concerned that people who are so right to say we should do things the right way are constantly doing things the wrong way in this sort of way against the Constitution. It is very expensive for 6 officers to arrest someone who's a student who they clearly knew where she was, and she had no notice that her student visa had been canceled. In many of the cases where a student visa has been canceled, there's a written notice, there's a chance to have an argument, due process to sort of have that sort of adjudicated and responded to. And then after that term, there's a determination if the individual actually needs the United States. But this isn't the way it happens where you have the expense of actually doing the arrest with 6 officers that are there that could be doing other things with crimes. You have no due process and the student didn't know that it was happening. You have the expense of moving her from Massachusetts to Louisiana and boarding her at this time and the liability of her health care at this time. So we're not even calling it an arrest right now. It looks more like an abduction from a movie scene.
So the Secretary of State, Marco Rubio, was asked about this, and here's what he said.
If you apply for a visa to enter the United States and be a student, and you tell us that the reason why you're coming to the United States is not just because you want to write op-eds, but because you want to participate in movements that are involved in doing things like vandalizing universities, harassing students, taking over buildings, creating a ruckus, we're not going to give you a visa. Every time I find one of these lunatics, I take away their visa.
So she was an active graduate student, by all indications. Does the administration have to prove these students are some kind of threat? Or is it enough to say they are, or say they were creating
Well, it should not be
ruckus?
enough to say they are, and that's one of the battles that we're having right now in this immigration, where people are being deemed part of gangs, being deemed just because they have a tattoo or deemed something. They have to have some evidence of that. And more importantly, in this case, that op-ed was written in March of 2024 when it was President Biden. President Trump came to office in January of 2025 and made a proclamation thereafter. The retroactivity of an action really doesn't stand in United States courts under the 5th and the 14th Amendment under our Constitution. In immigration, it's a little bit more lax. But in this case, what has the student done recently to show you these things? And what's the exact link to Hamas? And why is there no evidence? In any case, as an American, when you're going to make someone or charge someone with a crime, unless it's the highest level of security, we should be able to see the evidence. And that's the problem in this case. And they're also keeping her away from her lawyer, who's able to adjudicate her to get her out of the stands.